Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. Welcome to the show, everybody. My name, in case you forgot or can't read or something, is Kevin McDonald, and this is Positive Talk. Rochelle's going to join us shortly. I'm providing the creek don't rise or any of that stuff. You know how that goes. And we got a great guest for you today because we're going to talk about, I don't know. We're going to talk about business. We're going to talk about coaching. We're going to talk about speaking. We're going to talk about, I can't speak. Nobody wants to listen to me. Who the heck am I? Well, she can help you get through that because she does all of that. Her name is Kim Carson-Richards, and she is right there. Kim, how are you today, my dear?
Hi, Kevin. I am really good, and I'm so excited to be here with you today and just nerd out and like deep dive into speaking and anything else that comes up, because I feel like we're just gonna go down some kind of rabbit hole. So
we're gonna go down more than one. First of all, she's got, and we started with this, is that she's got a 20-year gap between children's, and she's actually a grandmother of three boys,
yeah,
and a mother of a 13-year-old, and at one point we're going to talk about the differences between what it's like to raise a child in the 90s versus it is in 25, because it's significantly different and
so different. I'm excited.
But first of all, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and how you came to be where you are?
Sure, absolutely. So my business is called Profitable Impact Academy, and I am a business strategist, but I really love digging in with entrepreneurs. So I work with a lot of coaches, consultants, and service providers and show them how can they use speaking to grow their visibility, grow their credibility and their authority, and get clients faster. I think there's a lot of talk in the marketing world about like social media, but what they don't tell you is it's a really long game. And from, what I've seen from working with thousands of clients is that getting yourself on one stage can completely transform your business. That's what I do for myself. I host 6-figure events on repeat. And it's just such a great way to fill your programs and to build trust and authority, right? They talk a lot now about in the marketing world, how it takes like 7 to 20 touch points. I can spend 60 minutes with someone from a stage and have them ready to sign up for my high ticket program. So I really love showing other entrepreneurs how they can leverage that same system to grow their business faster, because I see a lot of people out there hustling and trying all these other things and they're not working for them, especially when they're really new in their business, right? And they're trying to build up that trust with people and build up their audience. And so it's something I'm so passionate about. I've seen, hundreds, if not thousands of my clients completely transform their business, not only from a sales perspective, but from a confidence perspective, a clarity on their offer and what they stand for and what their message is and how they show up in the world. And I love working with quiet leaders too, people who are like me, who are actually pretty introverted, and showing them that public speaking doesn't have to be scary, and that it really improves everything you do in terms of communication in your business. So outside of business, like you already said, I'm a grandma, I'm a mom, I'm also a pet mom. I do pet sitting as a side hustle because, entrepreneurs, we tend to be multi-passionate. And I'm also a voracious reader. I love to read, and all kinds of things I nerd out on. So that's kind of me, top to bottom.
You are really, really busy. Did anybody ever tell you that?
Yes. But at the same time, I work really hard to have as much free time as I can. Like, I really opt out of the hustle culture, right? Like, I have lots of things going on, but also time freedom is one of the things that I'm really passionate about as an entrepreneur. Because I came out of corporate. I quit a really high level corporate job almost a decade ago. My anniversary is actually coming up just like next week from when I left my job. And so I'm so passionate about having success in my business and helping others do the same thing, so that I'm completely in control of my day, what I do, when, who I work with, how I work with them. no being stuck in a cubicle, and only getting a 60-minute lunch and two 15-minute coffee breaks Monday to Friday. Like, I'm so anti-corporate now. And so, yeah, I love creating pockets that are just for me, pockets of time. Time freedom is like where it's at. And I love showing other people how to do the same.
Do you know how many people are listening to this show right now and are saying, "Oh, that sounds so much fun. I'd
Yeah.
really love to do that because I'm tired of the corporate rat race." But then, when people start saying, "Oh, I want to be an entrepreneur," and they say, "I can have a business, and but what? And how do I get it off the ground? And how do I get people to find out about it? How do I get
Mm. Mhm.
clients?" And
Yeah.
all of that, because it becomes very, very convoluted, especially when you get out there and you go to the mailbox or you go to your bank account and there's no paycheck coming
Right.
in from that corporate job that you
Yeah.
had. And your significant other is looking at you going, "Are you sure that this is what we should be doing? The kids need new shoes,
Mm.
and there's no money in the bank for that." You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
it is. When you embarked upon when you embarked upon this journey,
Yeah.
were there people in your life that said, "Now, Kim, I know you're tired of
Yeah.
doing what you're doing, but Kim, it's a paycheck. It's something that you can count on. An entrepreneur, you have no idea what you're going to get.
Yeah.
It's just amazing." So did you have people like that in your life?
Oh, absolutely. And I feel like that's pretty normal for anyone. And it doesn't matter whether you're entrepreneurship or anything else. You're going to encounter people that kind of come at you with their own limiting beliefs and fears, right? They see you doing something that they could never imagine for themselves because it's so fear inducing. And so then what they're going to do is come to you with good advice. What they think is good advice, right? And try and discourage you from doing that big scary thing. So absolutely, when I quit my job, I didn't really have a plan B yet. I didn't actually even know I was going to start my own business. That hadn't occurred to me yet. And so lots of people I had, my best friend at work was like, "What are you doing? This is a huge mistake." And finally I said to her, "I understand your concern comes from a place of caring and love, but I am just not interested in hearing it anymore because I'm so set in my conviction that this is the right decision I'm making for myself." Right? I had such clarity. I remember that moment I was sitting across the desk from my boss, and I had just had this thought where it's okay if you feel like a door has closed, look for the open window and just crawl through, right? It's okay. Like, you are going to find the path forward. And I was so certain. And I've had so many people in hindsight, my father-in-law said to me, "I thought you were crazy, but I was too afraid to tell you." And now, and then he said, but ultimate validation, he said, "But now I see how many people need you. I see how many people you're helping and the lives that you're changing and how you're helping other people. And so now I understand why you were so convinced you were making the right decision. I see it now." And how is that for ultimate validation for someone to come back around and say, "I thought you were making a horrible decision and now I understand because I see what you're doing. I understand it now. I see the vision." So, and I do think a lot of people encounter that when they are wanting to start their own business, whether it's from their spouse, their parents, their friends. And so you have to really stand in your own conviction that you're making that decision. And it's not always easy. I think the thing about entrepreneurs are we are the most resilient group of people. We always find a way. And so you have to just be really flexible in your thinking and be like, it's okay. It's okay that these people are saying it. I know my path forward and I'm going to keep taking those steps. And sometimes it just takes that you're going to stand up and say, "Hey, I understand you're coming from a place of love and I am not interested in hearing this anymore." Right? Like, that's
I
okay too.
I want people to remember what you just said,
Yeah.
because that is a paramount thing. It's like, "I love you too. Now shut up."
Yeah.
Kind of, but you do it in a much better way than that, because
Yeah.
it's important if you decide. Well, I got to ask you a couple of things. Well, first of all, I got to
Sure.
mention this.
Okay.
We do a 15-minute meeting before we do these, and you escaped that because my team is just golden. They vet everybody, and you were so good that they said, "Oh no, we're not going to do that. We're just going to
Yeah.
schedule you right in, and he'll figure it out." And I will. And but I got to ask you, first of all, you were in the corporate world for a long time. You
Yes.
were very, very gifted at what you did, and you were a high-level corporate officer. What did your boss say when you walked in and said, "No, this is it. I'm leaving"?
Yeah. He was shocked, and he said he thought I was making a mistake. And that was it,
Surprise.
right? Yeah. But at the end of the day, you know what? A corporate wheel, the cogs in it, they don't really need us, right? They don't you might have people, managers, individual people who appreciate you, but the corporation, its main role is to just keep moving forward. So at the end of the day, it was just like, okay, cool. Thanks for your resignation letter. Like on to finding the next person. And that for me was such an aha moment. There was no like, we really want you to stay. What can we do to work this out? What's going to like change your mind? It was just like, okay, cool, thanks. I think you're making the wrong decision and like see you later. And for me, that was like an epiphany of like, oh, I've worked so hard for the last 2 decades to move up this corporate ladder. And at the end of the day, the corporation doesn't care about me, about who I am as a person, or whether I feel like I'm fulfilling my purpose, or whether this next role they want me to go into is the right fit for me or not. They just need me where they need me. And so for me, that was such a like an enlightening moment to be like, I've given so much overtime, extra time, unpaid time, commitment, passion. And at the end of the day, they don't really care. They don't have space for that. They just need to keep hitting their numbers on the spreadsheet. And that was really when I started thinking about starting my own business and creating something that felt fulfilling and purposeful, and that I never would have to report to another person again. I was actually just thinking about that this morning. I'm so grateful. I don't have to report to anyone. If I have an idea I want to launch, it doesn't need to go through 3 levels of management and a marketing committee. I just like launch it. Right? Like it's the ultimate expression of creativity and freedom to just be able to be like, hey, I'm just going to try this and see if it lands or not, versus being in a corporate, space where you're just giving we do as employees, we give so much of ourselves because that's kind of what we're trained to do. But at the end of the day, they don't really value it. And, so for me, it was the best thing I've ever done in my entire life, was just handing in that notice. But yeah, my boss was just like, okay, thanks. Cool. I have a meeting, so
Oh, you're kidding.
pretty
He
much. Yeah.
he he was that heartfelt and that wonderful, and like, or he his next call was to HR saying, "I need another person
Pretty
here."
much, yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And I don't feel like I'm isolated in that situation. I feel like that's
Oh,
pretty common. Not that there aren't some companies out there that are great. I had worked for other companies before that, but at the end of the day, it's really hard for them within the mechanisms and the systems and structures of a large corporation for them to really actually care about people. It's just not in the DNA. So it's all about profits and losses. So,
well, and I told when I'm because I was a general manager of restaurants for a long time, and I told assistant managers, I said, it's important for us to take care of our key employees, because if we lose a key employee, especially somebody who deals with the public, the next step is going to be we're going to spend a lot of time and effort and 3 to 5 people to get an equal person to do
Mhm.
that job, because it's going to take a long time and a lot of money to do that. And
Yeah.
people are going to say, "Where is Jamie? She was here last week and she's gone now." And so I think the corporations that operate that way are not thinking about the best interest long term of the business, because they in turn just say, "Oh no, we'll replace them with somebody that will be equally as good." And I brought this up a lot, and I would love your opinion on it,
Okay.
because I have been in sales and management and all that kind of stuff. I've looked at a lot of P&Ls,
Yes. Okay.
as you have.
Yeah.
I have never seen a P&L that's got a line, because it's got a line for sales and taxes and expenses and labor and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
I've never seen a P&L that has a line on it for turnover.
No. No.
Turnover, in my opinion, love your opinion, I think is the most expensive thing in the in the world of business that is not tracked anywhere. Nobody looks at when you leave how much is it going to take? How long is it going to take to retrain somebody? How much money is it going to take? And all that.
Yeah.
They don't do that. Why do
No.
you think that is?
That's a great question. I think it comes down to, in some ways, for some companies, once they get large enough, they almost become like a government, right? It's really hard for them to create change. They need things to just go in a certain way, and so in a lot of ways, they just find it easier to let people go rather than working to retain them. And it's always interesting to me, like, I think a lot of companies speak to corporate, like they want good corporate culture, but they speak about it very surface level without ever implementing anything that actually creates change, right? That actually makes employees feel valued, feel like they have psychological safety. They'll do maybe like a once a year employee survey to see how satisfied people are, and then they'll go, we don't understand why you're all so happy, and like, here's a pizza party, and then they just go back to what they were already doing, right? So I think in some ways it's just the machine gets too big. It gets too big to care about the people. And I do think that's why often you see smaller businesses where people do feel a lot more cared about. And, and even for myself, I have a team, and that's something that's so important to me, that my team is happy and that we're all working together really well, because it is expensive. Turnover is expensive as a small business owner, to have to retrain someone, even when you have systems in place. I mean, and statistically, studies show that turnover is very expensive for business, and yet we don't actually see them working to retain people. So yeah, I mean, I feel like that could, in and of itself, corporate world could be like a whole episode, Kevin.
Oh yeah. And by the way, I'm willing to bet that your
Yeah.
team,
Yeah.
and as a small team that it may be, they are ecstatic to be working with somebody like you, because
Yes.
you're not going to let that stuff get in the way of taking care of them, to make sure that they're getting what they need to
Yeah.
make sure the business is healthy and are doing great stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So
absolutely. Well, and it's really cool when you're part of a small team, we really have more opportunities for creativity, so
exactly, and that is the engine that turns people's brains on and gets them moving. By the way, we're
absolutely.
talking with Kim Carson-Richards. We need to take a quick break, and
Okay.
we're going to talk to our friend Ophir Adar. He's a real estate agent, and if you're trying to be a real estate agent and you don't have any listings and you don't have any idea how you're going to get a listing, but somebody told you being real estate was easy, well, listen to this.
You became a real estate agent for freedom, success, and real momentum. So why are you still stuck waiting for closings to save you? I'm Ophir Adar, founder of Real Momentum, and I help agents like you become seven-figure earners. My first client that I coached, brand new agent, made $250,000 back in 2006. What's the secret? You feed your white wolf. That's the part of you that's bold and unstoppable and a closer and able to build rapport quickly. So click Get Listings at Real Momentum and let's unleash your real estate potential.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Can you hear that music?
Yes.
Oh, goody. 'Cause we've been having some technical difficulties, and I'm glad we fixed that. Kim is she does so much, and she helps people get through the no, you can't do that because you've never done that. Why would you do that? And by the way, where's the paycheck coming from? Two, they're successful, and they and you teach them how to speak, and you're,
Yes.
by the way, you're very gifted at all of that. And earlier on you said that you were an introvert. I find that hard to believe.
I am a 10 out of 10 introvert, Kevin. I'm the most introverted introvert you'll ever meet. And I know it always shocks people because I love speaking, but That's one of the reasons why I love teaching entrepreneurs how to use speaking, because a lot of us are introverted. I think a lot of people think you have to be extroverted to be successful in business, and that's not true. You don't have to be the loudest person in the room. And so when you work on the skill and the communication of public speaking, but also understand how to leverage it within a system as a business owner so that you can use it to fill your programs and services, it's such a transformational and empowering opportunity for people. So, I think a lot of people think, there's studies that show people say they would rather, like die than do any kind of public speaking and be the person at the front of the room. But for a lot of people, that actually comes from childhood, because as kids in school, we're forced into speaking at the front of the room or reading the paragraph in like out loud reading without given any training on how to control your fear, right? On how to control the physiological response that we experience when we're about to do anything where we feel seen, right? Where we feel seen, like people are looking at us, like we're the center of attention. For me, that experience was in my grade 3 Christmas concert. I was one of the angels tasked with making the star at the very end. And in a moment, I forgot that we had one more song to go, and I dropped part of my star that I was making with some other kids. And then I quickly recovered and I grabbed it back. But after I heard 2 teachers speaking, 2 of my favorite teachers, and one said to the other, "Oh, it's too bad Kim did that." And in my brain, like I was probably like 7, 8 years old, I thought I just disappointed an adult that I really think is important in my life, and I never want to do that again. So that's it. I never want to be in the Christmas concert. I don't want to be on a stage. I don't want to be in the center of attention, whether it comes to games or anything. And it was such a struggle for me. And I didn't realize that had even happened until I started taking some public speaking training. And this memory bubbled up of this moment that I had decided I didn't want to be seen in that way in case I made a mistake and disappointed someone. And so when I was able to take that and set that aside and then just understand, oh, okay, there are some tools that I can use, that I can put in my toolbox to control my fear, it became so empowering. Because here's the thing, if you can conquer your fear around speaking, you can conquer anything that comes up for you in business. Any challenge, any obstacle will not seem like the worst thing you've ever gone through if you have just learned how to control your fear around speaking. And that's why I love teaching other people how to do that. So, and also when it comes to being an introvert, it's not that I don't like being around people, it's that I don't like useless small talk. I like deep, meaty conversations like we're having right now, right? So when I get to be the presenter on a stage at the front of the room and sharing my knowledge, my stories, my expertise with, 100 or 20 or 5 people, it doesn't matter. And they're enraptured and I have their full attention, where I'm giving them something really meaningful and powerful. That to me as an introvert is like the ultimate. I don't have to engage in small talk like at a networking event where you're just hopping from person to person going, tell me about your business, right? And everyone's just there trying to sell each other something. Or I can be the person at the front of the room who just has everyone's attention and says, hey, did you know this? This can completely change your business. Here's why you should use speaking for visibility. Here's how you can borrow another person's audience. Here's how you can grow faster. Here's how you can sell your course from stage, right? Then people are like, oh my gosh, you just blew my mind. Like that's exciting to me. And that's why, I always say speaking is for introverts too. Speaking is for quiet leaders too. It's not about being the loudest or being extroverted. It's just about understanding how powerful it can be to be that person at the front of the room.
And this is the part of the program where I get to offer our audience some advice.
Okay.
Because of your experience when you were in 3rd grade.
Yeah.
And stuff. I really would like, and I love your opinion about this, but if you have the ability and if you find a improvisational drama teacher or class that you can send your child to,
yes,
to learn how to be present and to speak and to feel confident and to do, that's what that teaches you, that you can then take and use it for the rest of your life. I did in front of I was a Cub Scout and with the blue and gold dinner. And I told my mom that, I was acting around the house and stuff, and she said, we should have you do a monologue. And so, and I said, what's a monologue? And she said, well, it's where you get on stage and you're by yourself and you're pretending that you're running in. I still remember parts of the monologue I did. It was called A Sprinkler for Mother, or A Sparkler for Mother, because
Nice.
it was around Mother's Day. And
Yeah.
I was going into a store, and wow, what a big store. And all of the thing, and ran into a fat lady and all that, but that trained me. And then I heard the applause and people said I didn't suck. And so that was, really good. But kids need training like that so that they can get it. Do you agree with that?
Completely. And I actually wish that public speaking was something they taught in schools for kids from a younger age. Because I think a lot of us, it's one of the reasons why we don't like school. But think about it. So you might go through elementary, high school, university, dreading every time you have to get up and speak in front of the class. Like when I think back to my university days and having to do group presentations and the anxiety and the nauseousness, and sometimes even trying to skip class and just not showing up, right? And even moving, and it was actually going into corporate world and having to do presentations to big stakeholders. So we're talking like the CEO, the boards of directors, right? That was actually why I went and took a public speaking course to begin with, before I even thought about using it as an entrepreneur, because I was having to give these really big presentations. And what I was doing, and this is pretty common for a lot of people, is I would take like one big breath and try and hammer out a 20-minute presentation without taking another breath, right? And then your knees start shaking and your voice is quivering because your body's going into fight, flight, or freeze. And you're thinking, I think I'm just going to run away or start crying. And that would be worst case scenario. And it took one of my coworkers coming up and saying, Kim, wow, like your presentation was really great, but you talked so fast, I almost couldn't understand you. And I was like, yeah, because I thought I was going to pass out. So I was just trying to get it over with. But it made me think, well, hey, like, what if I learn how to control that? Like someone saying, I think you're really good at this. So if I just put some tools in my tool belt and learn how to control my fear. And that was actually what led me to take my first public speaking course, which just happened to coincide with, I took it right as I was handing in my notice, right? So it worked out so well for me as an entrepreneur. But I think that's what I really want to reiterate for people is it's just about getting tools. And so for your kids, absolutely giving them those tools, whether it's through something like a drama, improv, or there are companies and organizations that teach public speaking to kids. It's so transformational. But not only that, once they're into adulthood, like Warren Buffett says, it's one of the things that you can do to basically increase your lifetime value of earnings by like 50%, is becoming a more effective communicator, taking public speaking classes. So I honestly think it's a huge skill that so many people are missing out on. And yeah, absolutely. Whether you have a business or something else, like it's just such an amazing tool to have in your toolbox, is that skill of effective communication.
Well, and when I was in a sales manager, and it is amazing to me how many sales guys have really no idea how to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know how to listen. They
Yeah.
don't know how to communicate effectively. It is like, I cannot believe that people can actually, that they don't study it. But in school, they don't, like when you were in first grade or second grade, nobody gave you the props or the confidence to be able to do it. All you were was just scared out of your mind
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
what was going to happen. And that is so counterproductive. And stuff. So I'm glad you're doing what you're doing, and it can go down generations, because listening is a big deal as well. Even when you're speaking and you're watching, like I'm let me guess. Okay, Kim is in the room and there are 100 people there, and there are all 200 eyes looking at her, and her first thought is, oh crap. Her second thought is, what do they want? Why are they here?
Right.
Why do they want to know? And then you start seeing their eyes start to light up with what you're saying and stuff. And so you're listening, even though they're not saying anything, you're still listening to their body language and
Absolutely.
who they are and stuff like that. And there are so many people that don't do that because they're just trying to get through the text.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is a huge part of it. When you're on stage, seeing how people are responding. You can tell right away the people that are leaning in, the people that are more responsive. When it comes to especially speaking to self from stage, you get really good at paying attention not only to the visual cues people are giving you, but by how engaged they are through asking questions, looking for clarity, but also energetically. You can energetically feel what's happening with your audience. So it's interesting that often listening isn't just the things we see or hear, but also just being able to feel your audience. And I think that's why it also creates a lot of trust, because we are doing an energetic exchange as the speaker, the presenter, the authority in the room. With your audience, it creates trust a lot faster than social media, where people are just very passively consuming content, right? And that's why I really love it. But I mean, also just working on your communication skills helps you with how you create content. And I just bring that up because I feel like in the world of marketing, everyone's like, social media is like what you have to do to grow your business. But it's interesting to me because I see for my clients over and over again, getting one on one stage is far more impactful than creating 20 pieces of content for social media. Just, again, a lot of that has to do with energy and creating authority and being in the space together. And it doesn't matter if it's in person or virtual. You also have an energetic swap, just like you and I are having right now virtually, right? So it just really gives you that opportunity to, especially in marketing, trust is huge. People don't buy from you if they don't trust you. So like being that person, it establishes that so quickly.
When we come back from this break, because we got to take our halftime break, but I want to mention that because there are people, and well, I'll get into it when we come back, because people are saying, oh, relationships are overblown. Baloney. Relationships are everything. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
Are you looking for a powerful way to grow your brand while making a real difference? Well, Positive Talk is the perfect platform to align your message with inspiration, hope, and meaningful conversations. By sponsoring Positive Talk, your brand will reach an engaged audience that values positivity and connection. People who want to support companies that share their values. Take this opportunity to showcase your business in a space that uplifts, inspires, and creates lasting impact. Don't wait. Email me, Kevin at kmmedia.pro today to learn how you can partner with us and spread positivity while growing your brand. And welcome back to the show, everybody. And Kim is with us, Kim Carson-Richards. And you were smiling during that commercial. Did you like it?
I did like it. That was a really good commercial. Yeah.
Well, thank you. And you know that, and that's the thing. We were talking about. I was told, well, let's do MailChimp, and let's send out an email to 5,000 people. And stuff, and you get maybe 10%, maybe 5% response. Nobody pays attention to it.
Yeah.
And they say relationships are not necessary anymore. You can just give them your website, and they'll go to your website. And relationships are everything, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because for most people, they work really hard for their money. And so in order for them to part with it, there needs to be a certain level of like trust, confidence, how them understanding like the value and the benefit. And yeah, that's not going to come from them just landing on your website, and that's why they say in marketing, it can take from a content perspective, it could take 7 to 20 touch points. And like I've been saying already, when they're with you at an event or you're on stage in front of them, you get to make that happen in a short amount of time because you do build the relationship with them. They get to hear you, tell a story from start to finish. They get to understand how you operate, what your values are. Are your values aligned when you get to share stories, they filter that story through their own life experience to see if they relate to it or not. It might not be the same story, but they look for the, like, oh yeah, I have been through those. I have overcome situations like that. It's just so powerful. And yeah, I don't agree. I don't think that relationships when it comes to marketing are going away. Most people that buy from other people in terms of like services or courses, it's because they feel a level of trust and maybe some kind of parasocial relationship, right? They feel like you get them. Clients I work with, I get them. I understand the struggles they're going through, and I can give them the direction, the transformation, the answers that they need to take the next steps.
And the other thing that speaking in public does, and be it virtual or whatever, is that it validates who you are.
Yeah.
They see who you are. They feel in your smile, in the energy that you're bringing forth. And it's like when we first met today, I've known you for like ever now. And when we first met today, it was like, she's got a tremendous amount of energy. She's got a great attitude. She's got a great smile. I would want to work with you because of who you are and what you can do. And even if you're not used to that, you can learn it, can't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's interesting. So coming from corporate, just tying that story back in, coming from corporate, about a decade ago when I started my business, I thought I knew a lot about marketing. I had been in the corporate world for almost 2 decades. And then what I quickly learned is that marketing yourself as your business is very, very different, right? And so then I started researching and learning, and I just thought I was going to be able to create a Facebook page, business page, and post that I was launching something and people were just going to buy. And lo and behold, that is not how business works when you're in a coaching, consulting, or service industry. So I learned really quickly that by getting on stages and then telling people how I can help them take the next step, that was really what turned my business around in that first year. From like, oh, okay, I'm posting on social media and nothing is happening, and I'm going to networking events and maybe I'm getting a client or two, but it's like really a long game to build relationships that way. Because, you spend a lot of time, you drive there, you're there for a couple hours, you drive home, then you're doing all these follow-up coffee dates. And mostly people are just trying to sell you on what they're offering, not interested in working with you. And it really came from getting on stages, either from other people, so borrowing a stage, finding other people that were hosting events and getting on their stages, or even just doing my own, that completely in that first year just flipped the switch on my business. Now my business, we're moving into like 7-figure years. And that wouldn't have, even now, we're still dipping into social media and the stages are still more effective, right? Even with a team managing my social media, the stages are still more effective. It's so interesting to me. I could spend 2 days with someone at an event and turn 6 figures in my business versus posting hundreds of pieces of content and getting a couple clients here and there, right? So it's really interesting to me that, and I've done it all. I'm a funnel nerd. I love websites, but still over and over again, it goes back to the speaking. And like we were talking about before, the relationship building is really what has transformed things for me and for my clients. So, but yeah, it's really interesting. There's lots of different ways to market your business. But for me, this one is the one that really changed things for me in that first year, coming in so confident. I know so much about marketing, and then learning quickly that having your own business and you being your own brand is so different than marketing for a large corporation. So it's really interesting, actually. I feel like I went on a rabbit hole.
No, not at all. How did you feel about, because a lot of entrepreneurs have problems with this part. How did you feel about, rather than putting out the company and I work for, putting out, hi, I'm Kim and I am? That had to be, there had to be a difficult period of that. And there is for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. Like a huge piece of it is mindset. That's something. So mindset is something I work with my clients a lot. It's really interesting to me. So I have a program called Impact Maker, and in it, we show people the exact how-tos, how to get stages, how to build your own signature presentation. And yet on our coaching calls, week after week, people are coming with their mindset blocks. So it's a good thing I'm also a mindset coach. But yeah, it's really interesting. And my business partner and I were just talking about this today, that the hardest part sometimes of having your own business is managing your own like bully inside, like the mindset piece where you're going to feel like you don't want to be salesy and you don't want people to judge you because you're saying, hey, I'm my business and I have a service that you should buy from me. And at the beginning, that can be really uncomfortable. And so, you do have to do a little bit of work within yourself to understand that what you offer is the opportunity of a lifetime for the right person. And the more you step into that energy and understand that it won't be for everybody, but for the right people, you will change their life. And it doesn't matter what the product or service is. And the more you step into that energy, it becomes really easy to say, here is the offer. Take it or leave it, right? And detach yourself from the outcome. That's something else. Is like, it's not a personal affront to you if they say no. It's just like, okay, on to the next conversation, on to the next event, right? Because I know for the right people, it's going to completely transform their life working with me and my team. So that, I think, if anyone takes anything away from that, is like, you have to personally detach. It's not a reflection of who you are as a person if people say no, because people bring all their own kind of problems to, sales conversations and offers. But if you truly believe, if you really embody the energy that they're going to get like some kind of outcome, and that's what you bring to the table, it will really change how you feel about being the face of your business, about having to make offers, about having to have sales conversations with people. And honestly, a lot of that confidence, again, going back to the speaking, happens for people when they're on stage, because the more you are talking about, the transformation you offer, how you offer it, what the offer is, who you are, the easier it gets to then just have those conversations one-on-one or in social media. I just find for people, because you're no longer allowed to kind of hide. If you're getting on a stage, you can't hide. And when you stop hiding is when you get a lot of that clarity. The more you're putting yourself out there, the more you get that clarity. And when you start working with clients and then they start creating results, then you have the proof for your brain. It's like, oh, okay, there it is. This is how I help people transform. This is how I help teach people, or they've learned something, they've created an output. So that it gets really easy then to have the next conversation with someone and just be excited that that something really amazing is going to happen for them. And if they say no, that's okay. That's on them. People have all kinds of reasons why they all say no to you. So it's just put the tools in your tool belt.
So when's the book about cold calling coming out? Because that you just said the fundamental mind shift that most people don't make, which is, I need to make a sale. I really want to sell them, and I don't know, but I need the money, rather than saying, what I have is valuable and it can help somebody. If you don't see the value in it, I get it. Maybe you will down the road, but because there really is a fundamental shift in that, rather than it's, I'm selling you, to, I have a service that you need. And can be beneficial for you.
Absolutely.
If you choose not to accept it, by all means, see you later. Have a good day. That's just leaves me more time to talk to somebody else.
Exactly. I got goosebumps when you said that back to me. Isn't that just energetically, it's such a shift? And I think it's just that one little shift for people that makes all the difference in how they feel and how they show up, So
I was a sales guy, and I was a district sales manager, and I tried to teach the art of cold calling, and for some people, they just don't, they'll never get it. It's like, I got rejected by my high school. The first time I went to a high school dance and I asked a girl to dance, she rejected me. Now everybody's done it ever since. And if he rejects me, I don't know how I'm going to go home tonight. You know what I mean? Rather than I've got, and by the way, if you're a sales guy and you don't believe in your product, quit today. Don't continue on, because you're never going to be a success. You got to believe in what you're doing. You got to believe in the quality of what it is that you offer, and that you can do it better than anybody else. If you don't believe that, quit.
Completely agree. Completely agree. You bring that energy into every conversation if you don't believe in it.
Absolutely. You by the way, I got to tell you, there's a reason why you're a 7-figure earner, by the way.
Thank you. I'm pretty proud of it. I'm pretty proud of it.
As well, you should. And you are in Canada, which is one of my favorite places. And the people up there are so much better than the, well, I can't say that. But
we won't go down there. We won't go down that rabbit hole. But yeah, you know what? So it's interesting. Let me talk about being Canadian just for a second, because you know, and I've worked with clients from all over the world, particularly North America, so Canada, Mexico, US. But it's interesting because as Canadians, we are a little bit more reserved. So if any of my fellow Canadians are watching, and one of the mindset things that I really had to work on to overcome is that it's okay to talk about your results in business. It's not bragging, right? Like we feel like we're bragging and we don't want people to know that we're doing really well. So it's kind of interesting. Like we kind of hold our results to our chest a little bit. And so as a Canadian, that's something I had to be less reserved about, is that I have a very successful business. But one of the reasons I love sharing that is to show other people they can do the same. You know, if that's something whether it's a 6-figure or a 7-figure, it's absolutely possible for people, you know, and by me talking about my success, that gives other people like proof that like, hey, I could do that too. Hey, Kim's just some person that quit her corporate job a decade ago and created these results. I can do that too, right? Like we can do anything we put our mind to once we decide that that's the result we want to create. So, but yeah, it's interesting to me because I've been through, and I've also worked with lots of coaches from Canada and the US, and just to see that, just that subtle cultural difference in like how we show up in that way is really intriguing to me. Because a lot of people think we're very similar, but there are small ways that we're actually quite different.
And I've talked to a lot of and interviewed a ton of people from both the United States and from Canada.
Yeah.
And I have found that for whatever reason, I don't know if it's the water or if it's colder or whatever, but you guys are a lot more engaging and more thoughtful about what you say, and you're considering the other person's viewpoint much more than they do down here, because it's all about them, don't you know? And by the way, we're talking with Kim Carson-Richards. I'm enjoying this conversation immensely, but I got to take our final break, and then we want to get all the information out about you so that people can then work with you, because I know you work all over the world and you work remotely, and you can help somebody get to where they say they want to go. The question is that where they really want to go? She'll probably tell you if you are doing that or not. We'll be right back.
When the game is on the line, championship teams know the game plan. They communicate and work together to win. We all need a game plan to protect ourselves online. Talk to family and friends so they know how to stay safe too. Create strong passwords, turn on multi-factor authentication, update software, and recognize and report phishing, because online safety is not something you want to fumble. Get more game-winning tips at CISA.gov/secure our world. Then share them with family and friends.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Rochelle is out sick today, I'm afraid, but I'm having a wonderful, wonderful conversation with Kim. She is an amazing business leader. She's an amazing speaker. She can get up on stage and have people in the audience go, I want to learn from her, because she's really good at what she does. And she's got this energy and this smile that really, the energy that you have you found this, that the energy that you have is translated to the people that are in your audience and who you're talking to, because it is so contagious?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Absolutely. Like, and I mentioned before, we kind of do an energetic swap, right? When we're in an audience. And so for me, anytime, like, and it doesn't matter what kind of stage, whether it's social media, it could be a podcast, it could be an event, someone else's event, my own event, right? You could be giving an inspirational talk. I did that once for a group of 700 college graduates. my hope, no matter what, whether I'm there to make an offer and have them work with me or I'm there to inspire them, is that they're going to walk away feeling amazing. That they're going to maybe have one nugget, one aha moment where they're like, oh my gosh, you just changed my worldview on something. I feel so different about myself or how I deal with this. That is my ultimate goal, is just to have people feel good when they walk away from having an experience with me. Don't we just need more of that in the world? When sometimes
That's
it feels
great.
like the world around you is falling apart. So yeah, completely. I have people tell me that all the time. They love my energy. And lots of times people want to work with me because they want that to rub off on them, right? They want to have those kind of shifts in perspective so that business feels easier and more fun.
Now, I'm willing to bet. Now, tell me if this is true, because there are a lot of people that get on in front of people and they sweat. I mean, they really sweat over what they're going to say and
Yeah.
the dialogue and all that. I'm willing to bet that when you get up there, you got an outline and then you just let it flow, and whatever is appropriate, whatever the audience seems to pick up on, that's what you do. Am I close in that?
Sometimes. So it depends on the scenario, right? So if I'm going in to inspire, yeah, I go in with a loose outline of like 3 points and I will share stories, because story sharing is one of the most compelling ways to engage your audience and to help them have those like shifts, right? If it's something for my business, I use what's called a profitable signature talk. So this is a system that we've created where we show people a structure. And I'll give you that there's three steps in the system at a high level. And I'm going to tell your audience what they are right now. 1, you're going to have a story. So as a business owner, you should have an origin story that you're sharing with your audience. 2, you're going to have content, and you're not giving away everything in the kitchen sink. Because then people are going to feel like they can walk away and do it themselves, but you're not doing that. So you're going to have a content section and you're going to have a call to action. So a call to action, it could be an offer for something that's paid. It could be an offer for something that's free. It could be just saying, hey, like if you're making content online, it could be, comment this word so we can start a conversation. But you need some kind of direction that you give them, because I see so many people, they're so afraid. We talked before, right? They're so afraid of having people see them or perceive them as salesy that they'll do nothing. They'll just go, thanks for listening. Right. And thanks to the organizer for having me here. And then they leave the stage, and that doesn't create any kind of result for them or their business. And just being the person there talking isn't enough. You want to drive people somewhere, right? Whether it's to a free offer, to a paid offer, because that's the thing. We want to create results for your business. So it just depends. Now, podcast is different because we're here and you're just asking questions and we're winging it. And I'm just sharing. So obviously I have like an idea in my mind of where I would like the conversation to go or which stories I would share if you ask questions about them, but that's a little different. So one of the things I do recommend to people, and we do have a free resource that helps though, is to create a story library. So, you start and start with a foundation of a bunch of different stories, and then you would work on what is the so what? Like, why should my audience care about this story? Why am I sharing it? Like earlier, I shared the story about being in the 3rd grade and realizing, that I didn't want to be the center of attention. And I share that story. My so what is because so many people have this epiphany moment where they're like, oh my gosh, I was in elementary school too, and I made that same decision, right? So
Exactly.
but having a library of stories can really help you as a business owner. And then, and actually, we haven't even talked about AI, but I love using ChatGPT just to help find like, what is the positioning, or what I like to call the red thread of figuring out how can this tie back into my business? How can this be relevant to my audience? Not just as a random story I'm sharing, but as either a lesson or something that would lead them into my offer. And so we do have a free resource that helps people with that. And if you're open to sharing, I can share the link after. But
why don't you, since you just said that, why don't you share the link right now while it's fresh in somebody's mind?
Sure. So I will just say it out first. Do you want me to drop it in the chat? I don't know if that will go to you, but I can put it in.
Go ahead and say it, because a lot of this is going to be audio.
It's go. 3 words, Profitable Impact Academy sorry, we have a long business name, /PSTS, as in Profitable Signature Talk System, PSTS. So if people go there, they can grab the free download, and it will help you. One, it gives you that framework I just told you about. And two, it gives you some prompts to help you start building your story library. Because for a lot of people, that's one of the most important pieces they miss. They get up on stage and they give a lot of content, and it tends to be like really dry, and the audience starts to tune out. And story selling is much more effective. I like to call them our impact stories. Our stories where it makes them lean in and go, wait a minute, have I experienced this before? Oh, like maybe not this exact scenario, but something similar. And then that's when you've got them. That's when they feel like, we are kindred spirits.
I have got stories, and I'm so sorry that you missed a 15-minute meeting, because I'd have told you a really good one.
I know. I feel like we could probably go for 2 hours. We have lots of stories we probably need to share with one another, Kevin. Yeah.
Probably 3 hours. But give us your website again, because I really want people to go.
So it's go.profitableimpactacademy.com/PSTS. And that will give you our free resource. Now, of course, you can connect with me on social. You'll find me on Instagram, like all of them, under Kim Carson-Richards, or my business name, which is Profitable Impact Academy. And people are always welcome to message us there. So if anything I said, you're like, oh my gosh, like I need to know more, you can DM us on any of those socials. But the free resource is a great place to start. And we also send out a weekly business blog that is so phenomenal, if I may toot my own horn, that will help you in all areas, not just speaking. We talk about lots of different aspects of business, of mindset. And so we send out a weekly kind of newsletter style blog that really helps people. And like, it is so good. Like, we have a very high open rate. I'm just saying that people love that weekly email, because it's just packed full of business, how-tos and tips and things that can really help you move the needle faster in your business. So,
well, and you figured it out, you and your partner and your team. It must be really exciting to be you.
It is, yeah. Not only be me, but all the clients that I get to work with in all different capacities, because it's, not just our team, but we help so many people, and they really do have these really amazing transformations in their business, but in their life, because the two are very interconnected, right? So,
well, and the cool thing about what you just said, and what I really love about it, is you're all about service.
Yeah.
And you're being rewarded because of the service that you're offering, and the word of mouth that I'll bet you get all kinds of people that say, hi, excuse me, is this Kim?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, my friend, Deborah, do you remember Deborah? Oh yeah. And she recommended me to you, and you to me. And I really want to work with you. Can we talk?
Yes.
I bet you get that all the time.
We do. Yeah. Actually, we, all of last year, we didn't even actually do any outbound marketing, because we had so many word of mouth leads coming in. So, which is a good feeling to have. It means that, that people are happy with their experiences of working with you. So that's something that we value very highly as a team, especially in the coaching industry. There are a lot of people that have had bad experiences. And so it's always really important to us that we're really high in integrity, and that we deliver what we promise. And then that rewards us by having, our clients recommend other people to us. So, it's just like a business basic.
Well, and I'll tell you, that 15-minute meeting that we do before we do a show, and that you were not part of, because we thought that you were too good for that and stuff. Yeah. You are. We've got 100 people waiting to do that 15-minute meeting.
Oh, wow.
We do 10 a week, and we've got 10 weeks of people wanting to do it. Why? Because we are just so nice and engaging. I don't know why. But it is great talking to you. Will you come back and see me again?
Anytime, Kevin. Anytime. This is so much fun. I don't even think we even got a chance to touch on any of the stories that you and I had riffed on for like the 5 minutes before we went live. Like, we could just go on, right? So I would love to be back anytime.
She is just awesome, and sadly we've got to wrap it up.
So
So tell us again how somebody can, your email,
profitableimpactacademy.com/PSTS will get you our free download. And that's a great place to start. Or like I said, you can just connect with me on socials. I'm highly responsive on social media as well. So, and I just want to say, I appreciate everyone that was watching or watches this in the future. And thank you so much, Kevin, for having me on. This was so much fun, so much fun. And I really appreciate you for the opportunity.
Do you know I've been doing this since 2003?
Wow. Congratulations. Yeah. That's a huge accomplishment. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I didn't even get to tell you about that part. That's another story I'll have to tell you next time we talk.
Perfect.
Again, Kim Carson-Richards, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much, Kevin. I appreciate you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin